I am so Hail Afzal and you are watching my channel. I hope you are fine. Welcome to my channel.
The boy who changed his fate. In a small town in the American Midwest there lived a boy named Ethan. He was not born rich, he did not live in a big house, he did not have famous parents, he had only dreams and a strong heart. Ethan lived in a broken wooden house with his mother. His father had died in a factory accident when Ethan was only 6 years old. From that day life became very hard. His mother worked 2 jobs to make sure he could go to school. She was always tired, but she never complained. She wanted her son to have a future that she never had. Ethan was different from other boys. While they played video games and watched television, he preferred to sit under an old oak tree with a notebook. In that notebook he wrote ideas, dreams and plans. He wrote about becoming someone important. He wrote about changing his life and helping others. One day at school a teacher asked a simple question: what do you want to become when you grow up? Most students said doctor or police officer or fighter pilot. When it was Ethan's turn, he stood up with shaking hands and said, "I want to build things that change the world." The class laughed at him. The teacher smiled politely, but nobody took him seriously. That laughter stayed in his heart for a long time. It did not break him, instead it became fuel for his fire. When Ethan turned 15, he bought a broken old computer from a yard sale. It barely worked, the screen flickered, the keyboard was missing keys, but he saw opportunity where others saw trash. Every night he sat at the kitchen table trying to fix that computer. He watched free online lessons at the public library because he had no internet at home. He learned how to write simple programs, he learned how machines think, he learned something more important, he learned patience. His mother watched him quietly. She did not understand computers, but she understood her son. She supported him in every way she could. Sometimes she gave him extra time before chores so he could study. Sometimes she stayed awake late at night just so he would not feel alone. Years passed and Ethan became one of the best students in his school. He won a small scholarship that helped him get into a community college. It was not a famous university, but to him it was a dream doorway. He worked part-time at a grocery store stocking shelves at night and studied during the day. Life was still hard. There were days when he slept only 4 hours. There were days when he felt like giving up, but every time he wanted to quit, he remembered the laughter in that classroom and the tired face of his mother, and he kept going. One night while working at the grocery store, he had an idea. He noticed how much food was wasted every day. Good food was being thrown away just because it was near the expiration date. At the same time, he knew there were families in his town who slept hungry. That night he opened his old computer and started building something new. He created a simple program that connected grocery stores with local shelters. The app showed which stores had extra food and helped shelters pick it up before it went to waste. It was not perfect, it crashed often, it had bugs, but it worked. He named it ShareHope. At first nobody cared. The stores ignored him. The shelters were confused. People thought he was just a kid with a silly idea, but Ethan did not stop. He walked into small stores and explained everything in person. He showed them how the system worked. Some store owners listened, some laughed, but a few believed. Within a few months, ShareHope started to grow. One shelter joined, then another, then one large grocery chain agreed to test his idea. That was the turning point. News spread slowly. A local newspaper wrote a small article about a poor college student helping reduce food waste. A local radio station invited him for a short interview. Ethan was nervous, but he spoke from his heart. He spoke about hunger, waste, and hope. Soon after that, a small group of investors contacted him. They did not offer millions, they just gave him enough money to improve his program and build a real app. Ethan quit his grocery store job. He worked day and night on ShareHope. He hired 2 friends from college and worked out of a tiny garage. They slept on the floor and ate instant noodles, but they felt rich because they were building a dream together. 5 years later, ShareHope was used in hundreds of cities across America. Tons of food was saved every year. Thousands of hungry families were fed. Ethan was no longer poor, but he never became proud. He still wore simple clothes. He still called his mother every day. One day he was invited to speak at a huge technology conference. He stood on a big stage with bright lights and thousands of people. When he looked into the crowd, he saw young faces full of dreams. He told them his story. He told them about the broken computer, the laughter in the classroom, the long nights of work, and he told them something very important. He said, "You do not need to be born rich, you do not need powerful connections, you do not need luck. All you need is a reason to rise and the courage to never quit." The crowd stood and clapped for a long time. Years later, Ethan built a foundation to help poor children learn technology. He went back to his small hometown and built a free learning center under that same old oak tree where he used to sit and dream. One afternoon, a little boy came to him and asked, "Sir, is it possible for someone like me to change his life?" Ethan smiled gently and said, "I was someone like you and I am standing here today." And in that small American town, hope lived on, not because of money, not because of power, but because one boy refused.